What's good, y'all? It's been a while since I really sat down and talked about the Knicks on the channel. I only put out a video like beginning of the season when they started off really shaky. As you guys know, or if you don't know, I am a Knicks fan. I wanted to come on here and just talk about the Knicks because they just had their great 9-game win streak. We're really catching stride. And then now they have lost 4 out of their 5 games, with a lot of them being beatable teams. In case you guys missed the last few games for the Knicks, they lost to the OKC Thunder, then the Orlando Magic, then the Chicago Bulls. They won against the Toronto Raptors and then got blown out at home by the Thunder yet again. So me being a dedicated Knicks fan, I have watched every single game so far this season. I would like to think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the Knicks, so I wanted to kind of just lay out all the information, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just see where the Knicks are at for this season right now. Starting off with the good thing is the Knicks are pretty easily a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, as the standings are right now, it's Cleveland, it's Boston, then it's New York. I do think that close behind the Knicks, you have Milwaukee or Orlando. Both of those teams, I could see arguments for you saying they're better than the Knicks, but in my personal opinion, I definitely have the Knicks above those two guys. Milwaukee seems to be very hit or miss this season, where sometimes they look great, other times they look horrible. They obviously do have Giannis, who is one of the best players in the NBA, so that helps them out a little bit, but I just feel like they don't have a great offense or a great defense to lean on. They're kind of middle of the pack for both of them, just barely outside of that top 10 in both categories. So I would have them below the Knicks right now. And then Orlando, they have just been decimated with injuries. I know Paolo Banchero just came back, but I still don't think that he alone will be enough to carry this offense because they just, again, have so many injuries. And I said this in my power rankings video not that long ago, but I do think there's a great argument for the Knicks to have the best starting 5 in the NBA. When you look at their team on paper and then the production they give on the court, most nights that is one of the best 5-man lineups that you could really have in basketball. And most nights that starting 5 allows the Knicks to have one of the most explosive offenses in the NBA. When you look at pretty much any stat when it comes to offense, the Knicks are towards the top of that. They're great on all 3 levels: 3-point shooting, mid-range shooting, at the rim, the free throws, the assists, offensive ratings. Like I said, any stat you really want to look at, the Knicks are towards the top of that. Once those shots aren't falling, though, that's when the struggle comes with the Knicks. We saw this exact instance against the OKC Thunder, which, albeit they do have the best defense in the NBA, but the Knicks really struggled on offense, and that allowed them to get blown out by halftime. And while we're talking about that game, yes, it was a very disgraceful game. Not a lot of good highlights through that, except for Josh Hart. Shout out Josh Hart. But after that game, I saw a lot of commentary on Twitter talking about the Knicks are all in on this, like this is our final product, we're cooked, blah blah. I know the Knicks made a lot of blockbuster trades, trading 6 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, trading Julius Randle, Dante, and another first-round pick for Karl Anthony Towns. It seems like the Knicks are all in because they made these great big trades, but they are not all in just yet. They still have a decent amount of flexibility. Hopefully this relaxes you Knicks fans, but next year under contract, the Knicks will still have Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Mitch Robinson, and Deuce McBride, all under contract next year. Even when you look further than that, in the 2027-2028 year, so 3 full seasons from now, the Knicks still will have under contract Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart. This is not a 1-year or 2-year window that the Knicks have. They have their core guys locked up for the foreseeable future. Not only do they have these guys under contract, they have movable pieces as well. Mitchell Robinson has yet to play this season because of injury. I love Mitch and everything, but he is a very movable piece. That $15 million right there. When you have one of your best players, Karl Anthony Towns, he is a center. Mitchell Robinson, also a center. I know they could probably work together in certain lineups, but most nights Cat will be closing out at the 5, even when Mitch is healthy. So that $15 million could probably be used better on different players that play a different position. Deuce McBride is another one. I know he's a fan favorite. Every time he touches the ball, the fans go, Deuce. Great. I love Deuce more than the next guy. But again, he's a valuable player that the Knicks could look to move if they need to combine those salaries. Tyler Kolek, another fan favorite rookie. He has value as well. And I'm not saying these players will be traded, should be traded, I want them traded. It's not that. I'm just trying to prove to Knicks fans there still is wiggle room here and ways to improve the roster. And because of the Mikal trade, it seems like people think the Knicks just have no draft capital at all, but that's just incorrect. They have 7 second-round picks in the next coming seasons, as well as 4 tradable first-round picks. And one of the reporters for the Knicks, James Edwards, he put out a report a few weeks ago that from the vibes he's picking up, Leon Rose is kind of going to use this season as like a feel it out. He made all those big roster moves. He wants to see how the team plays right now, get them through a full season, and then in the offseason, he'll be able to tweak and shape up the edges a little bit. And I don't know about you guys, but ever since Leon Rose has taken over the Knicks, I mean, it's just been an upward trajectory from there. He has proved that I can trust him blindly, so that's what I'm going to continue to do. Leon Rose, I believe in your vision. I'll give you the time and the grace for sure. I just really don't like how the narrative right now about the Knicks, specifically from Knicks fans, is that this is the final roster. No, this is the final core, more than likely. This is the core that we're going to try to win a championship with, but not the final roster. We still have free agency and a few trades that we can make to really shape up this roster. And now that we got the good out of the way, there is some bad stuff that I do want to bring out for Knicks fans here. Starting off, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. I do not think the Knicks are championship contenders this season. I do think that they're one move away, 1 year away, however you want to word it. I do not think that, as currently constructed, the Knicks are championship contenders. This is the most hyped Knicks team in years, 20, 25 plus years maybe, I don't really know. Coming off the incredible season the Knicks had, again, one of the most successful seasons in a while for the Knicks, coming off that year, making all of these trades and objectively bringing in more talent and becoming a better team on paper, to then now not seem like that juggernaut, super high tier contender. It is disappointing, I will say that for sure. There are just a few glaring issues on this roster right now that I just don't think they'll be able to put over the top and mask in a playoff setting to then eventually win a championship. I just don't see that. Starting off with the defense, the Knicks defense has been very up and down, where it started off atrocious, then it got a little bit better. They seemed like they were going really nice, and then now it's kind of valleying a little bit more. I would like to see some more consistency defensively, but that's just not what I've been seeing from the Knicks all season so far. Any team that plays defense for 48 minutes automatically has a upper hand above the Knicks. When you just look at this little losing skid that they've been having, we've seen it multiple times, both games against OKC, Orlando also. Those losses came because the Knicks couldn't get a smooth offense going and they couldn't get stops on the other end. It's a recipe for disaster. And when you look at the teams that they're going to have to go through in the Eastern Conference to make the finals, Boston, Cleveland, both of those teams play defense. They will clamp you down and also have the offense to compete with the Knicks. And honestly, I don't really know how you fully fix the defense for the Knicks. All I know is pick and rolls, they get absolutely killed. Whoever's guarding the ball, it seems like they just get violated on the screen. They can't get around, they can't go under. Then that just leaves Cat playing drop a 2-on-1. And he's getting eaten alive. We all know Cat is not the best defender in the world. And a lot of the times it leads to the team just getting an uncontested layup from the guard, or they dump it down to the big, and then it's a dunk. And if I have to point fingers, I will point it at Mikal Bridges. He has been very inconsistent on both ends of the floor so far this season. I know he's had a quote that said that it's a little bit of a struggle to get used to his new role, where he's not the number one guy like he was in Brooklyn, but he's not the role player he was in Phoenix. He's somewhere in the middle there, and it's hard for him to really find his footing in that role. I will give him grace in that, because I'm sure it is difficult to just switch up what you've been doing for the last few seasons. But still, that inconsistency needs to get better. I know he also had a quote saying that basically it's easier to play defense when your shot is falling. I don't know how I like that. I'm sure, yeah, it makes sense when your shot's falling, the team's going, you're energized, it's easier to play defense. But I would just like to see some consistent effort game in and game out. But with a defense like this, I mean, if their offense is not firing on all cylinders, it's really hard to stay afloat at times. And like I said, for a championship level team, that's just not possible. The other super glaring issue for this Knicks roster right now is the fact that they have no bench. Part of this is because Tom Thibodeau does not run a deep bench and doesn't run a lot of minutes towards his bench guys. But part of the reason he does that is because they have been not good this season. Deuce McBride is by far the Knicks' best bench player, both defensively, offensively. He comes in, he hustles, he shoots the 3-ball, and he defends. That's really all you want from your role players. Besides Deuce, though, there's not much off the bench for the Knicks. Campaign, he's been, okay for certain stretches, but overall, like, nothing crazy, nothing to write home on. He just kind of hold down the fort till Jalen Brunson comes back on the court. Landry Shamet has impressed me a little bit. He's been very, very good in his role. But again, his role is pretty limited for what we're looking for from him, so he's not going to come in and just impact the game like that as a spark plug or anything. And then you have Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims, who kind of share that backup center spot. In the beginning of the season, it was Jericho Sims, then Precious came back from injury, and he's been kind of picking up that backup center minutes. They've been solid, but neither of them are really anything on offense. Defensively, they're okay, but on offense, just absolute zeros. And like I said, the Knicks have an argument to have one of the best starting fives in the NBA, but also their bench is really, really rough right now. I remember a few years ago, I used to be watching Knicks games, and if they came out to a shaky start, I would look down at the clock and be like, all right, well, we still have plenty of game left, and Emmanuel Quickly hasn't even checked in the game yet. The game doesn't start till IQ starts because he's that punch off the bench. He can just turn it on and switch the whole momentum of a game by coming off the bench. That's the type of guys us Knicks fans are used to. Even when you look back just last year, Josh Hart was that guy before Julius went down. He came off the bench and would just impact and bring that energy. The Knicks do not have that type of guy coming off their bench. So my final verdict here on the Knicks, the truth about the Knicks in my eyes, they are not a championship contender this season, how they're constructed. They are a tier below that top tier of a OKC, a Boston, a Cleveland. They just don't compare to those guys. Coming into the season, I have them as the second best team in the East and one of the best odds to win the NBA championship. Now that we're halfway through the season, I would definitely say that the Knicks are more than likely going to be a second round exit. The way the standings are looking right now, they will either have to face Boston in the second round or Cleveland in the second round. And I've already mentioned what I think about them when they compare. And again, I want to reiterate this to Knicks fans. They are not stuck. This is not the final roster. These trades are not bad for the team. They have room to grow. I don't want people to think that I'm saying they're like OKC and they can have plenty of growth and these young guys and bringing in guys and draft picks and blah, 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 blah. That's not it. But I've also been seeing people talk about them like they're the Phoenix Suns, where they have bad contracts, no room to grow, no draft capital, no young guys. They're not either of those extremes. They are very handedly in a good spot right now. They have a great team currently, and they have room to grow. Obviously, we never know what happens in the offseason, but if I had to guess right now, I would say next year the Knicks will be towards the top of the league. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments what you think about the Knicks so far this season. Are you really panicking and thinking the world's falling, or are you still very optimistic about the team? I'm interested to see what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch ya.